Hello, my name is Salma and welcome to my channel. If you would like to book a personal reading, you can contact me at tattoosandtarot@gmail.com, or you can look up my personal website, which is tattoosandtarot.com, and you can see what other services I have to offer with regard to readings. In any case, I hope you enjoy your monthly Taroscope reading, and any questions that you have, feel free to message me. All right, have a good one. Bye. Hello, Taurus. Here is your July 2017 reading. Sorry, it's a little late. Better late than never. So I was reflecting on you all and just, before I hit play or before I, started recording the video. And one of the feelings or sensations that I got as I was reflecting on you all was, this feeling or this sensation of feeling kind of lazy or not very motivated. Just feeling kind of lethargic, and it is summer, it's hot. At least where I'm living, it's pretty hot. So, it's summer, it's warm, there's this action orientation when it comes to the summer months, right? But there's also this laziness that we can't help but feel in response to the heat and in response to the sun kind of beating down on us. So I just got this kind of feeling of like, knowing that there's a lot of work to do, but not wanting to do it. Taurus, I've said this in a couple of my videos, but the motto for Taurus, is kind of like slow and steady wins the race. Taurus, kind of takes its time. My Mars is in Taurus, so even though I am geared towards, making moves and getting things done, I do so at a slow pace, and I do so at a pace where I know will eventually generate the results that I want to see, the success that I want to see. And what's happening for you all astrologically, right? So number one, Venus is leaving your first house or has already left and is moving into your second. And as Venus enters into your second house, which is also, your house, right? So you have Venus in your second house, which, is very comfortable, but also brings up, the second house talks of issues of, self-esteem and how you value yourself and how you develop your own resources, how you come to rely on yourself. It is, it's the house of value. It's the house of how you value yourself and how you value your resources and your ability to go out and create your own resources, right? So that's happening with, Venus in the second house for you all. And so, it's more of, there's a lot of reflecting on what it is that we want, that you all want. Venus is what we want, and Mars is how we go about getting it, right? So, Venus, there's more of a focus on reevaluating what we want and reevaluating our desires, reevaluating, what those desires mean to us, reevaluating, are we in possession of ourselves, or do we need to possess other things to feel in control or to feel loved, right? Or do we possess ourselves already, and Venus is going to come into opposition with Saturn in your 8th house, right? Which the 8th house being the Scorpio house, and Scorpio is, already automatic, already your opposing sign, right? So Saturn is, Saturn in Sagittarius is moving into your 8th house. And meanwhile, Venus is in Gemini, right? So with Venus in Gemini, a lot of new ideas possibly coming up about, maybe some conversations also coming up around, self-worth, and that being a topic that you all are openly discussing. And you also have Sun, Mars, and Mercury in your 3rd house. So there's some 3rd house activity happening. So possibly, maybe, discussing, discussing what your ambitions are, discussing what you're all about, what your purpose is, what you see for yourself in your life and what you want to accomplish, the things that you want to go about getting and how you're going to get those. And just there's communication happening around self-worth and open and honest dialogue about where you are at with your self-worth and how you value yourself, right? And so then we have Saturn and Sagittarius coming into your 8th house. And so, one of the biggest opposing, relationships between 2nd house and 8th house is, second house is my resources and how I go about getting my resources. And the 8th house is how do I help others get their resources and how do I use other people's resources. So in relationship with Venus, also representing partnerships and relationships, maybe there is, tension between your resources versus a partner's resources and how you're using your partner's resources, how they're using yours. Or, are you valuing your partner's resources or are you valuing your partner's ability to create their own resources? So those are some of the themes that come up, when we have 2nd house, 8th house in opposition with one another in a chart, when we have two planets in either one of those houses, and they're opposing one another. So that was, and just a couple of other themes that I have here, about second house versus the 8th house, right? Is that 2nd house is, self-sufficiency, whereas 8th house is, merging emotionally with others, right? Merging emotionally. And, also 2nd house represents developing resources, whereas 8th house is helping others to develop their resources. 2nd house can be personal power, whereas 8th house can be power over others, right? Like, are you with Saturn in the 8th house, and Saturn representing limitations and kind of reflecting and restrictions in that area, maybe looking at areas in which, and also being in Sagittarius, right? And Sagittarius representing ideas and philosophy and our values and our convictions, right? Like, are you what's the word? Are you pushing or imposing your convictions or beliefs onto other people, right? Like, are you imposing your own beliefs about your own self-worth and self-sufficiency onto other people, mainly partners or intimate, those who you are intimate with? 2nd house is self-esteem. 8th house is self-conquering, right? Like, 2nd house is about recognizing, being in possession of self, right? In a self-esteem, confidence. I have these skills. I am the owner of myself kind of way. Whereas 8th house is more so about having the ability to look at oneself and kind of break down what doesn't work and kind of throw out what doesn't work, Again, 2nd house is about material possession, whereas the 8th house is about kind of, getting rid of and filtering out what is not needed. So that was, those are some themes that you might want to look at and think about in terms of 2nd house versus 8th house and what's coming up for you. And yeah, I definitely feel that communication around topics of self-worth and topics of money versus like my money versus your money, and like being open to having those conversations and it not being like a taboo thing might be a positive thing for you all this for the remainder of this month. So now I'm going to get into the reading portion of this video. Okay, so let's get into your reading. Sorry, I had to pause the video and handle something. So yes, Taurus July 2017. A lot of cards keep getting this temperance, or a lot of times keep getting this temperance card. Yeah, I just feel like I don't, like this feeling of like, I don't want to keep going, or I'm kind of done with whatever it is I'm done with. That's the vibe that I'm getting right now. And King of Pentacles. So there you are, right? Ten of Cups. I'll leave that there. Taurus, July 2017. Any messages, any guidance for Taurus, July 2017? Again, the sun. A lot of signs are getting the sun, getting some sun and temperance. Okay. And on the bottom of the deck, Four of Wands. Four of Wands as kind of like an underlying energy. So I don't know why this glare is getting really intense right now. So Four of Wands, this you know, celebratory kind of foundational, there's a foundation, they're celebrating, there is stability, right? There's stability in the home life, there is stability in the creation and manifestation of material resources. So let's see what else is kind of going on for you all. So here is the spread. Here's what has kind of come up. Yeah, so let's begin. So, you know, we have Temperance here, and this Temperance, you know, was the first card out, so it kind of represents to me a general energy of what's going on with you all. And, you know, the Temperance card isn't, and what I was feeling about, not necessarily feeling lazy, but just kind of feeling like wanting to take one's time, wanting to, you know, not feeling in a rush to go anywhere. And that to me, you know, and also, and I have a feeling that Temperance is coming out a lot, because for me, it's a Sagittarian card, and I think that that's what it is in general, but I read it as a Sagittarian card, right? Like the awakening to, or the acknowledgement of higher learning, right? And that higher learning can oftentimes represent, you know, higher learning not just through traditional education, but higher learning through spiritual purposes, higher learning through spiritual experience and through spiritual practice. And that spiritual practice in and of itself is a conviction, is a belief, is a philosophy, right? And so I believe that this card is coming up a lot because we've got Saturn and Sagittarius, and Saturn has been a, you know, a heavy energy for a lot of signs in this past year, you know, and I think Taurus, you're not exempt from this. And so Saturn being that Sagittarian, you know, that Sagittarian call, and that Sagittarian and Saturn, you know, calling card to really look at where are your commitments? Where are your commitments to your spiritual practice? Where are your commitments to your own beliefs and philosophies? And where are, you know, being in your 8th house, right? Like, where are your commitments to, you know, yes, like have great self-esteem, right? Like have great self-esteem, but be willing to also go into that 8th house territory of self-conquering, and going into that 8th house territory of shaking things up a little bit, and messing up that, and kind of, you know, messing up the sturdy foundation. Like, you'll be okay even if you don't have this. It's kind of what Saturn is trying to tell you, right? And so we have the King of Pentacles here, right? And this definitely represents you. Here you are, you know, and And, you know, Taurus to me is the sign that got to the plot of land that first, and it's like, wow, like, I own this. This is mine. I am here. I am in possession of these things. I am in possession of this piece of land, or I'm in possession of myself. I am in possession of myself and the things that I collect, right? The collector, right? He's got all of these, you know, he's got like all of these different, you know, he's got this pentacle with him. He's got the scepter. Like there's things that he's, you know, he's growing grapes off of his garb, off of his, you know, royal garb. Like he's growing, you know, all these things around him. He's surrounded by all these things that he possesses and that he created himself. So, you know, here you are, and, you know, in recognition of, you know, Venus being in that second house, that there is definitely, you know, a lavishness, right? With Venus in the second house for you all, you know, your possessions, your self-sufficiency, right? Like how you create your resources, and your resources themselves actually feeling, you know, kind of sexy and luxurious and being harmonized, right? And I see like this whole top row right here, right? It's like Temperance, King of Pentacles, Ten of Cups, and the Page of Pentacles as really speaking to what's happening in your second house, right? And that second house really, you know, really being highlighted and illuminated, and you're feeling good. You're feeling good about yourself. You're feeling good about your possessions and the things that you have. You feel good about, you know, you feel good. You're observing all that you value. You're observing all that you value, and definitely, you know, I definitely see things in the home life looking up, and I see things in your own personal sense of self-worth. Definitely, you know, looking very emotionally satisfying and fulfilling. And what I'm kind of seeing here is that this row here might, you know, correlate more so to 8th house issues, and correlate to maybe, you know, where Saturn is trying to get you to push you to learn, either push you to set limitations or push you to push past your own restrictions, and to set new ones, right? So here we have the Sun. And to me, you know, the Sun can also just very simply mean that, you know, what's hidden with the High Priestess, right, representing what's hidden, is illuminated. 1 second, I'm going to turn the light on because I wonder if that'll help with... Okay, a little bit better. Sorry. So we have the Sun here, representing... you know, the things that, yes, happy times, joyous times, but also representing, like, to me, the spotlight, and representing what, you know, what needs to be revealed in the spotlight. And with the High Priestess here, you know, there are definitely things that need to be unearthed and uncovered, right? And again, with the Sun being in your 3rd house, the Sun's in your 3rd house right now. And so that basically meaning that communication, and, you know, communication and issues involving siblings, issues involving the gathering of new knowledge, issues involving, you know, spreading information and spreading knowledge, this messenger kind of Hermes, like, right, kind of energy is very prevalent for you all right now. So the Sun being in your 3rd house, right? And so it's like, what is not like, and I mentioned before that, you know, communication around issues regarding self-worth may be a big theme for you all, right? Like maybe you're feeling so good about how you're feeling in your, you know, in your own personal successes, right? Like, you know, maybe there's definitely a space and a time to recognize, wow, I'm doing so well that, you know, these things are working out for me. work is going well. My relationship is going well. These things are going these things are going, working out pretty well for me right now, right? But there still is this sort of, something needs to still be illuminated. Something still needs to have the light shown on it. And like, while I see you kind of on the surface being really, feeling kind of like this, right? And feeling like, feeling sturdy in yourself, I also see that there are still some things that need to be recognized, that there are still some things that need to be revealed and illuminated, that the High Priestess has a lot of, she has information and knowledge, but a lot of the time she's not going to go out of her way and impose her will and impose her knowledge onto other people. Right? So, and again, I think I briefly mentioned that, right? Like one of the with Sagittarius and Saturn, like what are you sort of learning about, and what are you committing to regarding your own beliefs and ideas, and how are you communicating those, right? And underneath the Ten of Cups, you have the Ten of Pentacles. So there's some really awesome things going on. But I think what the Ten of Pentacles is more or less asking you to do is to I believe the Ten of Pentacles is really asking you to not only, view or observe like your personal success, but to view and observe how your success affects others, the creation of the family, right? Like, I see this as a very Capricorn kind of situation, right? That like, Capricorn is not only concerned with its own preservation of self and self-esteem and its own self-sufficiency, but it's more concerned with how do I put these earth sign skills, these, this ability to manifest things in the physical plane. Like, how do I take this and how do I turn it into something that everybody in my family can come to enjoy, and that can be handed down to generation. Like we have an older grandfather, an elder here. We have, two parents maybe, and then there's a child, there's these dogs. So like there's a family, and so it's not just about, it's not just about only seeing your wealth or only seeing your possessions as something that is for you to solely benefit from, but it's also like, well, how do I, because when we're here, right, when we're always here, we're bounded. There's bondage of self, right? There's bondage and our possessions and our possessions and, our self-esteem can soon turn into an inflated sense of self. Like when we're constantly only observing, what it is that we have for ourselves or what it is that we've created for ourselves, we become in bondage to ourselves, essentially, right? And, like I said before, I think I mentioned this before when I did the astrological profile, but Taurus is about, how can I create wealth for myself and how can I create material gain and how can I do that? And Scorpio, not only is Scorpio about, well, how do I help others do that, right? But it's also about, well, and also how do I cut away from the things that keep me bound to myself? How can I self-conquer by conquering my desire to possess? How can I break free from my desire to be attached to things, right? Like, how can I break away from all of these attachments that keep me in bondage, and that actually kind of keep me, from moving from here to here, right? And like the 10 of Cups is great, but the 10 of Cups oftentimes speaks of emotional fulfillment, right? Like there's an emotional fulfillment. But when I see the 10 of Pentacles, it's like the full Monty. It's like, it's not only that emotional fulfillment, that emotional, goodness, right, that comes when we're fulfilled, but it's like the actual physical manifestation of all the things that we want to create. And sometimes in creating this, sometimes we have to let go of this, right? Sometimes we have to let go of this. And the 5 of Swords popped out as well, and I felt the need to put it to the side, and then if it became relevant, right, if it became a card that actually needed to be talked about, it would be talked about, right? And I'm seeing definitely a relationship, right, that sometimes when we're here too often, when we're looking at and observing the things that we possess, right? And we're looking at how much we have and what we don't have, or what our own value is, right? Like, sometimes that can cause us to act in ways that are not so integrous with others, right? And with this guy in the 5 of Swords, he's got a lot of possessions, right? He's got these 5 swords, but he can't carry all of them, right? So being very mindful about, be remaining, like this Page of Pentacles still has some humility. He has 1 pentacle, and he's so grateful and thankful for that pentacle, and he's careful, right? And meanwhile, this guy in the 5 of Swords, he's overpowered, right? These two. Right. And again, the 8th house being the house of how we exert power over others. Are you exerting, and Saturn being in your 8th house, how are you exerting power over others? How are you doing it in a way that speaks to your integrity? Or are you, as a Taurus, right? Or are you doing it in a way that is now becoming, where you're just trying to possess and to have and to, right? Like, because Taurus in the extreme, right, is like, Taurus will go out of his way to possess not only things, but people, right? Like, and these swords representing the ideas and intellect and the beliefs and the convictions and philosophies of other people, right? Like, are you going out of your way to overpower and to take away, right, the convictions of others? Like, are you doing that? Like, have you gone from this state of humility now into this grandiose, sort of greedy, sort of desperate kind of energy of taking what you can get? So that's, yeah, that's definitely what I'm picking up on for you all, is, I'm sorry the computer has been, well, I think you I have a feeling that you want to see these cards, right? So, yeah, I kind of lost my train of where I was going, but I think you all kind of get the point, right? Is that there is this need to really keep in check your desire, right? That, because when where Venus is at, kind of, a similar kind of effect to Jupiter, right? Where when Jupiter is somewhere in our chart, it creates like this kind of larger than life sort of presence, right? And when Venus is in our chart, we run the risk of also bordering into that kind of indulgence, right? Bordering into this kind of indulgence, and keeping ourselves in bondage, right? Like, because if we let the Venus energy get out of hand, then we end up, becoming slave to and in bondage to our own desires, to the point where fulfilling our own desires is never really possible, right? Like, this person's never, she can't see her way out of the prison that she's created for herself. And so definitely being mindful of like, yes, enjoy that Venus in second house energy, be in possession of self, recognize all that you've worked hard for, recognize the value that you have. But there are some lessons, right, that Saturn and that Sagittarius wants you to come to terms with and to learn, and wants to highlight for you, the sun being a fifth house energy for me, is fun and has its place and its purpose, and it's about creativity and allowing ourselves to be front and center. But sometimes we also need to go here into the high priestess, into the unknown, into those deeper parts of our subconscious to kind of, begin to really understand and pull apart, right, in that eighth house kind of way, what it is that we need to learn. And, like I said before, while this is a great energy to be in, this is a substantial, right? Like, and this is not just about you valuing what you have or what you've done, but you also recognizing that whatever you have and whatever you've created can also be used towards helping and creating abundance for other people in your life, and gearing that, maybe gearing this sort of attitude towards creating this, right? And that when we're constantly stuck here when we're constantly stuck here, eventually like humility wears itself thin, and then we kind of get greedy and may end up here. So let me pull an outcome card for you guys for the month of July 2017. Outcome for Taurus. Yeah. Dream big. Think big. The star is the Aquarius card. And this can definitely represent an Aquarius, an Aquarius that has a significant role in your life, and also maybe taking a page from the Aquarius. Take a page from the Aquarian sort of. This glare. Take a page from the Aquarius sort of way of going about things, right? So Aquarius is, Aquarius is the humanitarian of the zodiac, right? Aquarius is all about how can I best help? What can I do in my personal life to help instill change, or to help instill, balance for all people, not just myself or even my immediate family or my partner, right? Aquarius sees the bigger picture. Aquarius sees, right, this 10 of Pentacles. Aquarius sees what needs to be done, not just for the betterment of their own self, but for the betterment of all people, right? They see into the future. They see Aquarius, is ruled by the 11th house, and the 11th house is friends, group organizations, and how do I become a part of these organizations? How do I become a part of my friendships? How, and reluctance in standing out in those areas, right? Aquarius is also about hopes and dreams and wishes and the future, seeing things in the future and thinking a little bit bigger than just beyond, right? Like this small pentacle, which is great. And it's awesome that you were able to create this. But like I said before, sitting in this energy too much can sometimes we end up here where we're just trying to possess everything in the name of possession, which Taurus in its shadow side, that's what a Taurus does. And its lowest vibration is it's going around trying to possess and conquer everything and actually ends up no longer possessing the self anymore. Your greatest gift is that you have possession of yourself. And in having possession of the self, right? How can I then create abundance and possession for other people? Like, how can I then be a generator? How can I be a generator for these pentacles and the people in my life? And Aquarius, really is geared towards how can I be a generator for the betterment of humanity? How can I be a generator for the betterment of these groups that I'm a part of, these organizations that I'm a part of? How can I network and reach out to as many people as possible? How can I involve my goals and my abilities and my talents with, helping other people and with, helping to heal society at large, right? So taking a page from the Aquarius book, and then, taking a page from the Aquarius book and seeing the bigger picture, seeing, yes, the self-esteem, the self-sufficiency, the second house issues are great, and Venus there is great, but keep Venus in check in terms of not allowing us to overindulge, right, in the second house, and to allow Saturn to teach us about the lessons that we need to learn from the 8th house of, how do I involve myself financially in other people's lives? How do I help other people out financially? How do I accept help from other people financially? And how am I exerting my power over others? Am I doing it in a way that is, loving and caring, or am I exerting power over others in a way that is, not essentially exerting power, but am I trying to instill a humanitarian sort of outlook, right? On how I sort of, am I trying to, and how I deal with other people, or am I exerting my will and my power over others in a way that's just for the sake of doing it, so that I can feel more of this energy, right? So that I can feel more of this, like this King of Pentacles, who, this is a great king, but, I'm sure if all he did was sit here and look at that pentacle all day, there's other things that he does, right? There are other people in the kingdom that actually need this king to show up, and to spread his wealth and his resources, right? Like, am I spreading what I have to offer to everybody, right? That humanitarianism, or am I just kind of taking just because I want to take? So that was kind of quick and to the point. Sorry if I felt like a little scattered and like a little all over the place. There's a lot going on right now in general, but I hope that you enjoyed your reading, and if you would like a personal reading with me, you can contact me at tattoosandtarot@gmail.com, or you can go to my personal website, which is tattoosandtarot.com, and I will put all that information in the description box below. And I hope you all enjoy your month, and I will see you in August. Bye.